If your estimating setup feels disconnected, there's too many manual steps, or you're just looking for a better way, then this video is for you. I recently ran a live workshop where I walked builders through how to build their own connected estimating system inside of Wunderbuild, with a takeoff, assemblies, your price book, and the actual estimate itself all work and link together as one connected system. And the goal was to give everyone the structure, logic, and practical know-how to be able to go away and build it themselves. So if that sounds useful, watch this video to see how it's done. And in the description, you'll also find a link to download the workshop resources, so you can download those and follow along. And if you'd rather skip the setup work altogether and start with the complete estimating engine already built for you inside your Wunderbuild account, I'll also put that link in the description. My name's Theo Manifavis. I'm a former builder. I've managed hundreds of projects and now run Consistimize, where I help builders set up Wunderbuild and their business systems. All right, let's get into it. So this workshop I'm running this evening for you guys is themed around building a connected estimating system inside of Wunderbuild. So firstly, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Theo Manifavis. I'm the founder of Consistimize. So what Consistimize does is helps builders set up Wunderbuild and their business systems and all the training and implementation that goes along with that. So what I want to achieve today is for you guys to walk away with a practical example and demonstration, and also for you guys to follow along and build in your own Wunderbuild account what a connected estimating system looks like. So, I mean, we'll do as much as we can in this workshop, and we'll build out the main components. And obviously, there's a lot to it. But I think if we can get the key components in place with the template, how assemblies work, how the price book works, and how that relates back to the takeoff items, and with a couple of practical examples, everyone's going to walk away, knowing and having the confidence to go out and build out your own estimating template as a proper connected system inside of Wunderbuild. All right, so let's get into it. So firstly, I thought I want to show you what the finished system looks like, and my system is the estimating engine, and I guess where we're heading in all of this once you've got everything built out and connected and your own system set up. So let me quickly show you guys that. All right, so we obviously know in Wunderbuild, we've got, when we go to settings templates, our estimation template. So this is what we want to achieve. We want to have a full estimation template, populated with all cost categories, like you can see on the left here in this column. We can see all our cost items as well, based on each cost category. From there, we want to have a takeoff template that's linked to that estimate or that estimate template. So these are a whole bunch of takeoff categories. Within each takeoff category, you'll see takeoff items, and then there's also cost items linked to each takeoff item as well. Then we've got assemblies. So we build out assemblies, obviously, to automate our quantity process when we're trying to calculate quantities in a streamlined way. So we'll look at that as well, how assemblies come into the picture and how we can also use them within our estimating template. And then our price book as well. So ideally having a master price book with price lists linked back to that master price book. So that's what we'll look at as well. Now, I just want to ask, because I should have asked already, who's not on Wunderbuild yet? Is anyone not using Wunderbuild? Maybe if you can just put a 1 in the chat if you're not using Wunderbuild. Okay, we got 1. Yep. Okay. All right, cool. So there's a few of you guys here not on Wunderbuild, which is fine because you're going to see the system as a whole. So and you'll be able to relate it back to how you're currently doing things, and then you'll see obviously what's possible in Wunderbuild. All right, so what we're going to learn and cover today is, so we're going to look at the core estimating components and how they connect through the takeoff, how one measurement can drive multiple areas of the estimate, how the assemblies and the price book take the automation further, and the thought process behind what should and should not be connected. So that last point, that's a big one for me, because I mean, it's easy enough per se to go build an estimating template and throw all these things into it, but it's really the thought process and the logic that goes into not only how everything's connected, but what should be connected to your takeoffs and back from your cost items in the estimate template. So I'll discuss that a little bit as we get to it, and then that'll sort of get the juices flowing from your end in terms of how you should be thinking about it when you're going and building out your main template. All right, so what you're going to leave with, like I said, so we want to have a complete working method and a mini system and a framework you can keep if you follow along with this workshop. So we're going to build out the main component of the master estimate template, which again is your cost categories, cost items, assemblies, price lists, and takeoff templates. So they're the core components. And then we'll also do a measurement example, so you can see once we've built everything out, how that then flows through to an example estimate. And then if you guys stay till the end, what I'll also do is I'll provide you guys with a link, so you can just download like a mini estimating system starter pack. So it's just got some templates there for my cost code list, all the cost categories within my master estimate template structure, and also all the takeoff items within the takeoff template I use with my consistemized setups and estimating engine product. All right, so again, just going back to the theme of this this workshop. So I mean, and the question is your estimating system actually connected? So so again, on its own, a takeoff list is not a system. An assemblies library is not a system. A price book isn't a system, and the estimating template on its own isn't a system either. So Wunderbuild's great because it gives us all these components, and we can go off and template all these different components. But if they're not connected, then it's really not a complete system. So the value appears when the pieces are connected with the right logic. So who here feels, whether you're already using Wunderbuild or whether you've got a different estimating system, like all these pieces are connected, put it. Well, I'll rephrase that. If you feel like they're not connected, put a 1 in the chat. If you haven't gotten to the point where everything's talking to each other and connected up. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and look, that was for me as well. Even back in the early days with Wunderbuild, they had all these great components, which is what attracted me to Wunderbuild, the template features and the different components associated with those estimating templates. But yeah, everything was disconnected and not talking to each other. So it's only really in the last, I think maybe 6 months that they've really refined things and now allow us to build this connected system. All right, so yeah, so just again flowing on from that theme. So the paradigm shift for me is that the connections are the system, and that when you measure one quantity, it should keep working through to the complete picture of your assemblies, your price book items, and the final estimate. So we upload our plans, we do a takeoff to generate quantities, we generate further quantities from assemblies, and again, assemblies are the same thing as recipes for those of you who aren't using Wunderbuild and might be used to the term recipes. We link that to our price book item, and then that's how we generate our estimate cost items, at least in the most efficient way when everything's connected as one system. So the goal is not necessarily more automation, which I know a lot of people are already trying to build into Wunderbuild. We want automation, but we want to make sure that that automation stems from having a reliable flow and the correct pieces coming together with the estimating system. All right, so just for a bit of fun and probably in a half serious way as well, I thought I'll show you guys what I've tried to solve since 2008 when I had my first building company and was trying to build an estimating system like way before Wunderbuild and only when pretty much when data build was around. So let me find that. So here's the first thing that I came across, the good old HIA estimating sheet as a paper estimating sheet PDF. So this is what I started with back in 2008. Then I took that and I said, well, okay, well, let's build this in Excel. So the first round was having this, taking that paper-based system, trying to put it in Excel with some automation and some logic, so we can come to a final estimated cost. After that, we got slightly a little bit more fancy, so started adding some color, summary pages, and trying to build it out in a way that again just built on the automation and made things easier. And even further than that, then I ended up building my whole my own product, builder's estimate, I called it, and this was quite good for its time in terms of, again, unit quantity rate gives you a cost, and structured in a way to flow through to a summary page, and give you some nice graphs and that sort of thing. But again, it was never perfect, and Excel. If anyone's estimating with Excel these days, and I used to be one of those people, yeah, don't do it anymore. Use Wunderbuild, because it's just gonna make life a whole lot more easier, and also prevent any errors, which can be quite costly errors and mistakes with your estimating. All right, so this is my sort of estimating engine system, and I've highlighted in green here what we'll be covering today, but I wanted to show you the system as a whole. So we've obviously got our main estimating template, and to that template, what we're going to have connected is our takeoffs, assemblies, and price books. So this is what we'll run through today. There's a few other things that gets us to our base estimate. We've got quote requests as well, which we won't have time to go through today as part of the entire system, and there's commercial cost categories as well. As part of that, coming to a final estimated price when you're submitting a tender. So I do cover off on these in my main program within Systemize, being the Systemize builder. But for today, we'll go through the main components, and again, this will give everyone a really good understanding and put them in good stead for building out their own template, if that's what you choose to do. All right, so what we're going to do is, even though the estimating template is the final piece that we're going to save and have as our end product, we're going to start with that, and creating an estimate so that we can obviously build the estimate or create the estimate template from, and then adding in assemblies and price book items to that estimate. So firstly, again, I'm going to bring up the main template just so I can put some context to what I'm talking about. So again, we're going to build out some cost categories, as can be seen here in this list with how I've got my cost category structured in my main template. We're going to add some cost items to those cost categories to begin with. And again, that'll give us a good understanding of what's involved in building out a main master estimating template. And I guess with my template, what sometimes people feel like it's got a lot in there, and I'm of the belief that I'd rather have more in there that I can strip back and take out, so that if I do come across a larger or more complex project, I've got enough items in there and the depth to be able to price that project. So That's probably the big difference with my template and some of the others on the market, where they might, others I think are probably a bit more basic, but I'd rather have more depth in mine, so that I can strip it back when I need to, and then even for a simple project, I'm covered with pricing a simple job through to a complex project as well. All right, so I think we're I'm going to get close to starting this live build. So if everyone can just make sure they've got Wunderbuild open if they're going to be following along, and again, for those of you that don't have Wunderbuild, you can just watch, and I will put this replay up as well at the end once it uploads. So if you do feel that you're falling behind or I'm moving too quick, I'll have the replay up, and then you can catch up and follow along once the replay's up. But I'll try to keep it somewhat slow going so that everyone can follow along. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're building the estimating structure or this estimating template structure, like I mentioned. And the first thing is adding in our cost categories and single cost items. So I'm going to share my screen again. All right, so I've just gone. I'm just in Wunderbuild. Obviously, I'm in the new. I'm in the estimation section, and under this board, I'm just going to add a new estimate, and I'm going to call this. I'm just going to call this workshop example. Set estimate. Estimation type. I'll just make it new build. Client. I'll just put my dummy client there. Can systemize. You guys can put any client that you've got in your system, and that's it. And then I'm just going to hit create. I'm not going to worry about any of the other options it gives us there. All right, so we've got a new estimate created. So now I'm going to go to costings here, and I'm just going to start adding my cost categories and some of those associated cost items. So I'm going to go add costing here. So the first category I'm going to create is internal lockup carpentry. So you guys can just follow along. So the first one's internal lockup carpentry. And I'm going to put here as the first cost item, lockup, labor, internal works per square meter. I'm going to hit add. All right, so that's our first category and cost item. The next one I'm going to add in is fixed carpentry. And I'm just going to put here as the cost item, fixed labor per square meter. Click add. All right, the next one will be painting internal as a cost category, and the item will be internal painting 3-coat system. Click add. Now, obviously, as well, if you're building out your own template, a lot of the time it's easier in Excel. But being this is a small example, I'm just going to build it in Wunderbuild direct rather than uploading a spreadsheet. And the final category is builders clean. And I'll just put here as the cost item, builders clean. That's clean. That. Clean per square meter. All right, add. All right, and for the next items, I'm just going to add in a cost category. And the reason that we're only going to add in a cost category rather than an item is that because I want to add in an assembly to these cost categories, which we'll come back to once we've built out a few assemblies. So this category, I'm going to call it frame materials. And then what you can do here is just delete the item there, just so we can add the category on its own. So there's no costings under it yet. I'll add one called frame labor. Again, I'll just delete this cost item and we'll click add. And the final one I'm going to add in, once it loads, is plasterboard and linings. And again, I'm just going to delete this cost item there and just click add. All right, so hopefully you guys could follow along, and I'm not going too quickly there. But yeah, so all I've done is just added in some example cost categories. Again, obviously when you're building out a full template, it's going to have a whole heap more categories, but I just picked these ones for this workshop example. So we've got internal lockup carpentry with a lockup labor cost item, fixed carpentry with a fixed labor cost item, painting internal with an internal painting 3-code system item, builder's clean, just like a builder's clean, first clean per square meter item, and then with frame materials, frame labor, and plasterboard and linings, we'll add an assembly to those to these cost categories once we get to that step. All right, so I've added in cost categories and those single cost items. So the next thing we're going to talk about is assemblies. So obviously, like I mentioned, assemblies or recipes, if you want to call them that, are there to automate quantity calculations. So yeah, a bit of 101. Obviously, they convert one measured quantity into multiple required quantities, automatically calculate materials, labor, and any associated components that form that recipe or assembly from a pricing perspective. Assemblies help us to standardize calculation logic across every estimate, so we're doing things the same way and have that consistency, which is important. And just as a rule of thumb, if you've got one simple calculation, what you want to do is just calculate that directly within the cost item. So like those single items we just added in for those first 4 categories, they don't need an assembly because they're just like a simple calculation and cost item. However, if you've got multiple related calculations when you're trying to get to a cost figure, that's when you're going to build an assembly. All right, so let's build some assemblies now. So what we're going to do is I'll add into the chat the assemblies that we're going to build just from a naming perspective, and then you guys can copy them as well if that's easier. So I'm just opening up another tab now, and what I'm going to do is go to settings, assemblies, and I'm just going to start adding in some assemblies now to this assemblies board that I've created here. So let me just grab those from my notes, and I'll put them in the chat as well, so you guys can just copy paste. It might be a little bit easier. Okay, so I've just pasted them into the chat. There's 3 different assemblies there. So one's for frame materials, one's for frame labor, and one's for plasterboard. So let's start building them out now. I'll copy them as well from the chat to add them in. All right, so I'm just going to click here now, add assembly, and this first one is the frame materials one here for frame materials, where we need frame materials for an external frame wall that's 2.7 meters high, 450 stud centers. So this is the first assembly we're going to create. I'll just get my notes. So with the first cost item, what we need is pine for this assembly, 9045, or at least for this type of wall that we're building. So I'm just going to put that, and this will be at 6.0 meters. So if you guys just want to quickly type that in. So yeah, pi 1945 MGP10 at 6 meters. And I know for this assembly that for the top plate, bottom plate, ribbon plate, and noggins, we need 0.65 per linear meter. And then the next item we need is 2.7 meter pine, same type. So I'm just going to add that in. And then with this one, we've got 2.222 lengths at 2.7 for every linear meter of external timber frame wall. So I'm going to hit create there now. I'm going to create that assembly. And again, this is something I'd usually do when I'm building out assemblies. Usually I build them out in Excel. So I feel that it's easier to build in Excel and get my logic right. And then I would upload these into Wunderbuild as a Excel file, and then it automatically converts into assembly. But yeah, we'll just again just use it for this workshop just to keep it simple. We'll just manually add them in. All right, so there's our first one. The next one I'm going to add in, again, just check the chat. You can just copy paste it in. Is frame labor for stick built walls at that same 2.7 meters high. So again, I'm just going to get my notes. And for this one, I'm just going to add in this cost item or assembly item. So we obviously we need frame labor, obviously, to build our stick built walls. And for every linear meter of stick built wall, it's going to be 2.7 based on the height of that wall. So hit create there. And then the final one is plasterboard, or 10 mil standard plasterboard at least for this example. So I'm just going to hit add assembly, paste that to there. So we've got external walls. Again, we're going on this 2.7 meter high basis for this example. This is just 10 mil standard board, and we're saying this is like a supply and install assembly rate, and that's why I've got this noted as trade package. And then I'm just going to just copy in the description for the line item here. And again, I'm just going to put same like the frame labor. Every linear meter of 2.7 meter high wall is obviously 2.7 square meters. And that's it, hit create. All right, so we've got our assemblies built out now. So we'll keep going. So we've built some assemblies and we've added them into the system. Now what we're going to do is add assemblies into the estimate. So let's go back and do that. So let's go to this correct account. So now I'm going to go back to costings, and you'll remember under frame materials here, frame labor and plasterboard and linings, we hadn't added in any costings yet. So what we can do is just now click edit, and now I'm going to click add item. One thing I forgot to mention as well with the assemblies, you can add notes. So with my main assemblies, I've got a whole bunch of notes that's related to each cost item. So I remember the logic and how I got to that figure. So I mean, some are easier than others, like 1 linear meter of wall for frame labor by 2.7 meters high equals 2.7 square meters. So that's easy enough to work out. But for things like timber quantities and more complicated things, I usually add in notes. So just something to be mindful of as well. All right, so what we can do here now that we're back in this cost category and we're adding in a cost item, if I just paste in that first one, what it's going to do is it's going to find it. So you can see here as the first item, it's found that. So for those of you who don't know, when you're building out an estimate costing, you can just add assemblies as direct cost items into that estimate. So I've added that first one in. You can see it comes up with this highlight screen here, which means it's referencing as an assembly item. So I'm going to hit update. And then what happens is when you add in an assembly to a costing or an estimate, when you click this little arrow here, it shows you the components of that assembly and their associated calculation quantity. So let's do the same now for frame labor. Just going to copy again from the chat where I posted it in. Frame labor, I'm going to hit edit, add item, and I'm just going to paste that in there so it comes up as the first one. Hit update. Now the same for plasterboard and linings. I'll just edit, and I'm just going to add an item. Paste that in, and then again it'll find it. So I'm just going to select that one and click update. Now, I wanted to mention here, because this is another thing that I've come across and what I get asked as well. With my assemblies, I build out assemblies as is related to the particular cost category. So, for example, frame materials assembly, this one here only has framing items. Obviously, pine is a frame material. Frame labor is obviously related to frame labor in the assembly item here, and plasterboard, as plasterboard assembly only has plasterboard as an assembly item. So, whenever I build an assembly, I make sure that those assembly components are relate back to the cost category, and the reason I do that is because, like, for example, I know some builders, they'll build like an assembly, and say for example, like hanging it or a door. You could build an assembly to have like carpenter to hang door. So you've got carpentry labor, you've got the door itself, so that's obviously a material, and then you might have other components. So if I was to build out an assembly like that, what I then can't do is separate that assembly to the different cost categories. And then when it comes time to tracking costs, unless I just had a general category, a cost category, which again doesn't allow me to track costs, it makes it difficult if I'm creating assemblies which have cost items within, which are related to multiple cost categories. So, yeah, with that said, I know you can use cost codes to sort of, and you can tag cost items with cost codes, but cost codes for me are a secondary sort of cost tracking item. And when I'm tracking costs, looking at my financials, I want to track back to the actual cost category within the job budget. And cost codes are more as a secondary, like, looking point to see where you're spending costs across, all your cost codes historically, and going back to zero in your accounting system, that two-way sync. But purely at the job level, I want to be looking at costs at the cost category level. And if I'm doing assemblies across cost categories, it's not going to work. So that's why I do that. And what I'll show you later is, for example, if we take that door example again, I would just have hanging the door as one assembly item, and then the door itself as a separate assembly item. And then when we do our takeoff and we're counting our doors, it's going to automatically go there anyway. So it's just, that's a concept to keep in mind, that you're not necessarily limited. It may take you slightly longer to build an assembly because you're not grouping it as one, when that's the case. But otherwise, we pick up on that again when we're doing our takeoff, and we can still get that end result, which that'll make a bit more sense once we get to that and we're doing our takeoff example. All right, so I know there's a few questions, I think, but yeah, we'll just keep going, and I'll get to the questions at the end. All right, so we've added in our assemblies to the estimate, and now let's talk about price lists in Wunderbuild. So I see, so obviously the price list module in Wunderbuild is one component or one module, but I see price lists as three different areas. So you've got your master price book. So Wunderbuild now gives us the ability to tag a price book as a master, and that becomes a central master pricing source. And what you can do with that master is link all other price items to that master price book template. So we'll have a look at that. And again, it's like the like Lord of the Rings, like one price book to rule them all. That's the way I think about it when I'm when I'm building out the price book and how I'm attaching that to my estimating template. Then we've got a separate component is having your own price item catalog. So this for me is like having one separate price list where you can just go and populate all your own rates. So they may not be rates that you've necessarily got in a price list from a subby or a supplier, or they may have given you a verbal, I guess, rate or something like that, or from experience. So you can have you can create one price item catalog, as I term it, to put in all your own internal company rates, be they from when I say internal, they may be rates that you know of based on what other subbies and suppliers are charging you, or estimated rates, what you think it's going to cost. And you can also go in and populate that with your own labor, material and standard rates that you know what it costs you internally inside the business. And then you've got supplier price list. So that's literally like a supplier price list file. They email you a PDF or Excel file. You populate that into your price list, and then you've got one in there. Bunnings, Mitre 10, Bowens, Reese, whatever, and you populate that supplier's price list, and that price list is specific to that supplier. All right, so let's do that as an example. We're going to add some price lists into Wunderbuild. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to put some links in here, just so we're not manually having to build these all out, because it's going to take a while. So let me just bring up those price lists. All right, so I'm going to put into the chat now some Google Drive links. So there's 5 price lists there. So if you go and download each one or click each link, it's just going to automatically download an Excel file. So if everyone can do that, if you're still following along, and then it's just going to make it a whole lot easier when we're adding these price lists into Wunderbuild for this example that we're doing. So what you should see there is you're going to see one that's called ABC Building Master Price List. There's a price item catalog, and then I've got like an example, Bunnings, Mitre 10, and just a dummy subcontractor called Proline Plaster, just so that we can use as an example. All right, so let's do that now. So I'm going to go back into Wunderbuild. I'm going to open up another tab here. And what we're going to do now is go to price lists. And I'm going to click on add price list. All right, so the first one, like I mentioned, is, I'll just copy and paste this in. So I've got this one. So I'm going to put ABC Building Master Price List. So again, think of this as like your, like I mentioned firstly, like your master price list, and this is what everything's going to link back to. You can call this your own company name if you like. My one's just ABC Building as a dummy company, and then under supplier here, I'm going to select ABC Building because I've already got them as a dummy supplier. If you won't have this in your account, so then what you can do is just click plus. If you like, you can just add that in as a dummy supplier. Otherwise, you can just pick another supplier that you might have in there as a dummy supplier. It doesn't matter too much just for this example. So I'm going to hit create there. And actually, shouldn't have hit create yet, but that's okay. We'll go in and fix that. So what you want to do before you hit create, if you haven't done that yet, I'll just go back in. And you want to tag this as your master price list like that. So that it references as a master price list, and you can go in and link items back to it, which we'll do shortly in this example. All right, so we've got our first price list. I'm going to keep going here and adding in the other price lists. Let's keep going. So the next one is this. It'd be easy for me just to copy paste. So this is our price catalog. So you can call this whatever you like as well in terms of the company name, but just put price item catalog so we can reference it. ABC building. And this one's not a part master, so we don't tag master there. I've got a Bunnings price list example now, which we'll add in. So I'm just going to add everything in first, and then we'll go in and add the actual Excel file to populate that. This one is Bunnings. So if you've got Bunnings in your account, you can select them. Hit create. This one is MITRE 10. So I'm just going to add that in. Oops. Not there. We're going to create the price list first, or add a price list. This one's MITRE 10, so I'm just selecting MITRE 10. And then the final one I'm going to add in is for this dummy subcontractor, Proline Plaster. So set price list there. We'll call this one Proline. And then after Proline, who can I select? Select suppliers. Okay. Hit create. All right. So so now what we're going to do is we're going to you should have downloaded those price lists onto your desktop or PC. So let's add those price lists now into these price lists that we've created. So then if you just go to each one, I'll start with this plaster one and click click within. And now what we're going to do is what we can do is just click add item. Sorry, not add item. We can click here this upload because we've got the Excel file. I'm just going to copy that into there. So the first one being Proline Plaster. Okay, so this should all map correctly. I'm going to hit import. And we'll do the same for the other four that we just added in. So there's the plaster. It's got just one item with this rate there for 10 mil board supply and install. Let's do MITRE 10. So again, I'm just going to go to that price list, upload, and drag that in here. Hit import. And again, this is like a bit reverse now, and this is how I do it anyways. I'd build out my price list from Excel files first because it's easier to do it that way. But you can, like we did before, go in and do it manually and just add in items yourself. Let's add in our Bunnings example. Upload. Import. And just a couple more. We've got the price item catalog. Let's upload again. Price item catalog is there. Import. And then our final one is our master price list, this one here. So let's do the same. Master price list. It is there. And then import. All right, so and just on this master, what you're going to see, and this goes back to what I was saying. This master price list, at least for me, how I set things up, should be all $0 because you want to treat this as like your master price book, and treat it as like a master catalog with just all cost items. And then what we want to be doing, like I'm going to show you shortly, is we want to link actual price list items to that master price book. So that's why these are all showing $0 for the items in this example that I've got in my master price book, whereas the other items actually have pricing to them, as you can see. All right, so we've added price lists into Wunderbuild. Now what we're going to do is link price list items to that master price book. And probably what I didn't mention is why we've got this master price book and we're linking price items back to it is so that when we're doing an estimate, we can pick and choose. If we've got multiple prices and rates for the same item, we can pick and choose which one we want to use for that estimate. So that's why that's the whole point of the master price book. So you can have multiple rates. And you'll see now how like we've got some different rates for that 9045 timber. There's lots of instances where you might have the same item but a different rate. So that's the whole point of the price book and linking prices back to it, which we're going to do now. So hopefully everyone's still following along. All right, so I'm going to my master price list now, at least for this example. And what we're going to do is link back now to these items. So starting with frame materials, timber pine, we've got 9045 MGP10 at 2.7. What you do is you click this pencil icon, and I'm going to click link item. And this is now where I'm going to go to the price list files that I'd uploaded, Bunnings and Mitre 10, and I'll be able to find that piece of timber, that sticker timber 2.7. I can just click link there, close. You can see that's linked it in, and now I'm going to link in the other item as well, because if you recall, we've got the Mitre 10 price list. So I'm going to go to that. I'm going to find that exact same item, link, close, and then you can see we've got two price list items linked to this one master price book item. So hopefully that gives everyone an idea who's not familiar with the system and process how that works in Wunderbuild and why we've got this master price book that pricing links back to. So this is showing as the default. That's fine. I'll just leave it as that as the default. So then we want to hit update. All right, let's do the same for this 6 meter link. So I'm going to do link item, do Bunnings again first. Let's go to the 6 meter length link, close, and then I'm going to link the Mitre 10 one as well. 6 meter length link, close, update. All right, frame labor. This one will be just the one item. So we had again, this frame labor item. I don't have a supplier price list, but we've got our internal price catalog where we may have noted what we're paying for frame labor. So I'm going to go to that price catalog. Which was this one here, ABC Building Price Item Catalog. And there's that frame labor costs. I'm going to link that. Close, update. Same for internal lockup labor. Link item, catalog. This one, price item catalog. There's our lockup labor. So I've linked that. All right, plasterboard and linings. I know we had the price list for that, so we'll link item to that price list, which was plaster, line plaster price list. So I'm linking that. Update. This one's probably the longest little exercise, just with the load time, but we're nearly there. So fixed labor, that was again from our catalog, internal catalog, where we've got a rate for fixed labor. And this is a good example. So even if we've got our own internal rates, you can have multiple rates internally as well. So you can see for fixed labor here, I've got different allowances, you know, for a standard house, for a mid-range house, for a high-end architectural home. So again, this can get you thinking about how you can have different pricing and ranges even with your own internal catalog. So we've got 3 different pricings here for fixed labor, depending on the type of home, but still we've got that one master price book item. So what I'm going to do now is link these 3 items like that. You can see, so we've got 3 items linked from our internal catalog, say to this one fixed labor cost item in our template. Just a couple more. The same will go with this painting one. I'm going to link this to the catalog, price item catalog. You'll see I've got a couple of different rates for painting, you know, based on the max ceiling height. So I'm going to link that, those 2 there. And the final one is builders clean. So just a couple of questions. Will Wunderbuild allow suppliers to update their prices from the back end in the future? Yes. I think that's already available to some suppliers that are offering price lists from the asset marketplace, and I know that's something they're working on, you know, to get, you know, suppliers like Bunnings and Bolins or the like to have those price lists in the system. And the other question was, when updating price lists individually, will they automatically link back to the master costing template? Yes, they will, and it'll show you if any pricing is updated. All right, so just the final one here, and then we'll get on to back to the estimating template and linking this up. So this one was for builders clean, price item catalog, and there's our builders clean one. All right, that's the final item. I was hoping to, I tried to do a smaller example, but yeah, I felt like if I left it too lean, it wouldn't, you wouldn't see the full extent of what's possible. So hopefully everyone's bearing with me, and we're getting through it to get to the finished result. All right, so we've linked our price list items to the master price book. And now the next step is linking our price book to, or our price list items to our assemblies. So, I'm going to share my screen again, and let's go now to assemblies. Now, just something to keep in mind, I could have built these out originally. So instead of having, so I've got this frame labor item here, I could have just added in that cost item from the start. I didn't do that because I wanted to sort of go through the whole process of what it you know, start to finish, how you create an assembly, and add it to the system. And for a lot of you, and a lot of the time, you may not have price lists already in the system. So you might build out an assembly, and then like I'm doing now, once you've got rates in the system, need to go back and update that assembly to pick up the pricing. So so what I'm doing now is I'm going to now update these items with its related master price book item. So now if I search this same one now, frame labor, you guys can do the same. And what I'm looking for here, so this one here, so this is the one I just added in, or we just added in for $35. So I'm going to pick this one. You can see now it shows this as green. So now that assembly and that price item is linked back to that master price book. And obviously we've added some pricing and rates to that price book item. So that's that one done. Now as a live, assembly with live pricing linked to it. Let's do the same for external timber frame walls. So we've got 9, 90 by 45, and I'm going to find that master item wherever it is. Where's the master here? I'm just going to there's the ABC building. 90 by 45. Sometimes they hide, and you have to look a bit more carefully. We'll find it. Let me just start again. Copy this like that. And then I'm just going to paste that back in. No, that didn't do it. Let's try this. And sometimes this is a little bit finicky, but you just need to do it like that. All right, where is the one we just added in? ABC building. ABC building, that's the price list. Let me just refresh this just to make sure it's picking up. I just want to make sure I link back to that same master price book that we've been working on. So so this one picked up okay. Frame labor, okay, yeah, ABC building, yeah. Let's make sure this is the same. Let's try it like this. What I'm going to do is go here. Should be this one. 1447, that's the one I'm looking for. Okay. Sorry guys, sometimes this is a little bit finicky, but okay, so it's that one there. That's why. Okay, that's 6 meters. Let me just grab this from my actual price list. That might help to find it. So it's this 6 meter one first, this 6 meter length. Okay, there it is there. All right, so there's that one there. So that's linked up. And I'm just going to copy this one. I like that better. It might have been a spacing or something like that I had in there. So that's probably easiest just to copy direct from the price list itself. Then it will come up. Just checking here if I didn't add it in right. Give me a tick, guys. Let me just check this. Yes, we've linked this to Bunnings, 9045. Here's our costing item. Oops, that's a 6 meter one, not the 2.7 meter one. Copy. All right. 2.7. 2.7, where are you? It should be 1447. It might be easier to find it like that. There it is there. Okay, there's that one. I'm just going to add in my 6 meter one again because it didn't save. So I'll do that. It's 3216. It's a bit easier to find it like that. 3216. No. It's so finicky. So yeah, like I mentioned, ideally it's easier when you're creating assemblies if you've got the priceless item just to create it from the start with adding them in. Let me try one more time, I'll find it, 3216. There it is there, okay. All right, so we got there, sorry guys. So update this one, so it saves. Usually isn't that hard. And then the final one, and we're going to update now, is this plasterboard one. So again, if I just copy this, that, it should come up. There it is there. Okay, so there's the master item, update. So that's what we're looking for. Each of these cost items within now to have this green dollar symbol. That means it's all linked back to the master price list. And then that way, when you're adding an assembly into your costing, it's obviously picking up the rates. All right, so we've linked our price book to our assemblies. Now we're going to do the same with our single cost items in the estimate. So let's do that. And again, the same thing applies here, where if you're building out this this estimate, you know, obviously in your own way, you've already got price lists in the system. You're not going to have to go in and you could just add in the price list originally as this item, rather than you know, adding it in like we did at the start here. So this one here, I'm just going to copy this, and it's the same thing. Where it should come up. Is it? I think it was this one. Let me just double check that, guys. Yeah, internal lockup labor. It's this one here. So I'm just going to copy that. And go back to the costing. What you can also do, I'll try this one more time, but what you can also do, if it doesn't find it, is just looking for that. There it is there. Okay, so that's linked. It's the first item. You can see once you've got an item linked to the master price book, it's going to come up with this house symbol, and it's going to show one linkage for that $20 rate. So I'm just going to hit select as I go on, just to select that for each item, and then that locks it in. That's what we're going with. Fixed labor, I'm going to do the same for fixed labor. So this way, what we can also do is just go, you can click this this item here, and we can just look direct for the price list. So I'm going to go ABC Building Master Price List and find that fixed labor rate. That's probably the easier way to do it. So there's my master, there's all the ones linked to it. So I'm going to do select, and then that links it in. And then let's just do, yeah, this $15 one, lock this one in. That's the amount. Internal painting, I'll do the same thing. I'm going to go to edit, and click on this dollar symbol here, go to my master price list, and now find painting. There it is there, the master price book item at the top. So I'll select that, update, and then I'll just select this first one as the default one. And then builders clean, let's do that as well. Edit, go to my master price list, and find clean. There it is there. Update. There it is, editing. And I'll just select that as the default. All right, and again, what we have to do, again, this is the long way, but usually I wouldn't do it like this, but I just wanted to show as the example. So I'm going to now add in this, I have to add in this assembly again, because the system doesn't pick up. Once you add an assembly into an estimate, another thing to be mindful of, is that if you've updated or added a price list to that assembly, it's not going to automatically pick up. So you have to add the one in with the price list. So I'm going to do here, I'm just going to copy this item like that. I'm going to do add item, and then just hit like that. And then we're looking for that ABC one with the rates. Probably easier just to copy paste again like I did like this. So which one were we at? We were at frame materials. So I'm going to copy this one there. This is the last bit, guys, so just bear with me and the rest will be a lot more simpler. Let me get rid of this one and I add it in, and then should find the version 3. Here we go. So there's the one we want. And you can see now that price is added in. So I'm going to hit update. And now you can see those pricing, that's picked up that pricing. So once it's added in once like this, then any pricing changes that you make will also will reflect there and give you the opportunity to update. So let's do the same for the last couple. So frame labor, it's 94.50. Just going to hit edit, get rid of this one. There it is there. Let's pick that up. And then the final one was this plasterboard. Plasterboard aligning, go, edit. And then we're just going to find that version 3. There it is there. All right, so a bit of a long way there, but at least you saw how they're added in the first instance, and now that we've added in added pricing to those assemblies, we need to obviously make sure that's reflected in our estimate template. But once you add it in like this, again, you're not going to have to do it again, and everything's going to remember that link. So it's only if you create a new assembly that you're going to have to go in and add it in again. All right, so now this estimate is now complete in terms of, we've added in our categories, cost items, assemblies where applicable, and then we've also made sure all our pricing's been added in for whatever rates that we've got. All right, so we've updated our single cost items, linking back to the master price list. We've updated our assemblies with the associated master price list items. And now we're on to takeoffs. So that's the final part of the estimating template, which we'll run through, and we'll see how it all comes out. So again, a bit of 101. So takeoffs are obviously about measuring the project, and they're there to capture measured quantities directly from the plans. You've got the ability in Wunderbuild to link one measured quantity across multiple cost items where the logic permits. And we'll get into that shortly as well, in terms of that logic and how to think about that. And yeah, when we set up our takeoff template correctly, we can avoid manual duplication. So we can update link quantities automatically throughout the estimating template, just by updating the takeoff. So key principle: measure once. Use the quantity everywhere. That's ideally what we want to achieve from the takeoff template, and we want to eliminate duplicate measuring and manual quantity entry where possible. All right, so we're on to the next bit now. We're going to upload a plan to this estimate, and we're going to build out a mini takeoff template. All right, so let's do that. All right, so I'll open up another tab. Let's just follow along as well. So I'm going to go now back to, let's go back to that same estimate. This one here. All right, so the first thing we want to do is click this takeoff. And what I'm going to do now is, the first thing it's going to ask is for you to upload a plan set to obviously base the takeoff from. So when you're building out your own master estimate template, like we're doing here, it doesn't really matter what plan set you add in, as long as you've got something in there to allow the system to pick up. So I'm going to, again, just give you guys a link so you can download a set of plans. Let me find that. Let's find that link to paste in. All right, so I've just pasted a link into the chat. So it's just a basic single-story house plan set. So if you guys want to download that, and you can then follow along to what I'm going to show now. So get some water while you guys are downloading that. All right, so let's upload these plans. So I've already got mine downloaded. So you just drag them into here. Oops, sorry, I missed a step. So click select plans to upload first. Then we're just going to drag those in. Just going to hit select all. Next step to scale. Who followed along out of curiosity? Put a 1 in the chat if you're still following along, or if it's been too much. Awesome. Oh, good. Okay, I haven't been going too crazy. I'm conscious of time as well, so I've probably whizzed through a few bits, but it's good to see everyone's still following along, or most of you at least. All right, so I'm going to just apply this 1 to 100 scale to this set of plans. Hit save changes. Okay. All right, so we've got our plans in there now, and now you'll see it brings up this screen where we can now start adding in our takeoff categories. So and the associated takeoff items. So what we're going to do first is we're going to add in those couple of categories and takeoff items. So what you do here is we click add takeoff, and the first one I'm going to add in. So let me copy that from my notes, just make it easier. So the first category is just like a general area takeoff category. This is what I'd start with. So you can just do your general sort of square meter measurements, which is your initial, measurements, what you'd usually sort of look to and do on a job or project. And then the first category we're going to add in is ground floor, or at least in this example, we'll add in, sorry, I've done this the other way around. Don't follow me there. So what we want to do is we want to add in the category. So we're going to add in this category, and we're going to call it general area takeoff. So hit create. And then the name of the takeoff here we're going to add in is ground floor internal area. All right, and this one is square meters. So we want to select square meters there, and then hit create. And then the next category we're going to add in is timber frame walls. So, and again, this is just a simple example. Obviously, like I showed you before, there's heaps more categories and takeoff items, but at least this will get us going with something. So timber frame walls is the next one. Hit create, and then this one, I'll put this into the chat. This is a bit of a mouthful. So we've got external timber frame walls, ground floor, 450 stud centers, 2.7 meters high, dry walls. All right, so yeah, and I'll explain why if you guys aren't going to this level of detail, why we need to. So that's the first one, and these are the only ones we're going to add in anyway, because we won't have time to do any more. And this one's linear meters, so that's already selected, and I'm going to hit create. All right, awesome. So now we've got our plans uploaded in. We've got a couple of takeoff categories, and we've got a couple of takeoff items within those takeoff categories. So the next thing we're going to do, check my notes, so we're going to go off track. We're going to start linking cost items to those takeoff categories. So we're going to start firstly linking some cost items back to this first one for the ground floor internal area. So let's do that. All right, so let's do that. So to link now cost items back to your takeoff item, what you do is just click this pencil icon, and now it'll show this costing lookup button. So this is where now we can go and start linking items back to that takeoff item in the estimate. And yes, these. So the question was asked, will they be saved in our estimate template? Yes. So as soon as we do this and we save as a template, everything will save back. So the first one is from memory. We had internal lockup carpentry. So I'm going to so if you guys can find this one as well and select lockup labor, internal works per square meter. Again, everyone's a bit different. I used to just, when I was pricing my jobs, just allow square meter rate for my lockup labor. Even if my own guys ended up doing the job, at least they had some sort of rate in there to cover. So I've linked that one. That should be there. Let's add now fixed carpentry, same deal. I'm going to add in our fixed labor per square meter. Those, we've got lockup carpentry, we've got fixed carpentry. What else was there? Let me just check my notes. Yep, sorry. Right, so we got painting and builders clean. So let's add in those as well. So painting, internal painting 3-coat system. I'm linking that up. And then the last one was builders clean. Let's link up builders clean, first clean per square meter. Yep, add those. All right, so we've linked these cost items now to our general area takeoff for the ground floor. I'm going to hit update. And now what you'll see is these linkages underneath this takeoff item. Now, I just want to point out that, again, this is from what I hear and what I know some builders may be doing or think to do, is that I could go in here and now add in a whole bunch of cost items related to the general floor area of this house. So I could add in, say concrete slabs. Plaster was one that I used to add in, and I'll tell you a reason why I don't do that anymore. But I guess you want to keep things here that are sort of simple and won't change too much, and don't go into an extra layer of depth, and that you know with confidence, if you measure this ground floor area for the house, that these cost items, that it's correct to link back to those cost items. So for example, if I was to link like slabs to this ground floor area, yes, it would work, but then I would have so many different variables of slabs. So I might have a waffle slab, a raft slab, a suspended slab, you know, and then within each of those, you've got different thicknesses as well. So then I'd have to go even a level deeper. And then, so for me, that's I guess that creates too much sort of layers and levels within the one takeoff. And then I would have to go back in the costing and select the appropriate cost item that's related and that I want to apply to the estimate. So I don't do that. I would rather, and how I set up my template is that I'd have a category here called structural slabs or slabs and footings, and then within that slabs and footings, I would have suspended slab, waffle raft slab, waffle slab, raft slab, and then I could pick the thickness as well. So my process is go through this takeoff, like this is your checklist, and this is the way to sort of on a job when you're estimating it, just go through your takeoff items and say, well, what's applicable to this job? What sort of slab do I have? And then the other scenario is that originally I had, say, plaster, just calculating, and on face value, it does make sense. Like you're measuring the ground floor area, reflected ceiling plan, it's just plaster square meters on the ceiling as well. But then, depending on the house and most houses these days, I'd say that you're putting WR board in your wet areas. So then what you're forced to do is then go in and do a deduction for that wet area plaster. And shout out to Rob Rule if he's on the call. I'm not sure if you are, Rob, but I was having a chat with him about this, and this is what got me thinking that even though you can create efficiencies, say that plaster, for example, where if I just linked it back to the ground floor area for the ceiling plaster, I'd get my plaster square meters for the ceiling, but then I'm not factoring into what's the wet area board, and then I would have to go in or the estimator would have to remember to go in and do a deduction for wet area board and apply that wet area board square meters. So it's little things like this where you need to think it through when you're building it out. And even though something might seem like the more efficient way to do something, it can, maybe not end up being so efficient, because you might end up measuring again to do a deduction, or you might forget to do a deduction, and then that's not going to help with the accuracy of your estimate. All right, so we've linked up this ground floor area. Let's do the same now for our external timber frame walls. We might run over a little bit, guys, but hopefully that's okay. You don't have to zip off. I'm doing my best to get through it quickly. All right, so no, that's wrong one. All right, so timber frame walls. So now let's do the same thing. So now I'm going to link back to this external timber frame wall item. So again, costing lookup. This one we had frame materials, one of the assembly items. So I'm going to add that in. I'm going to add in frame labor. Click add. And then the last one is, oops, go back there. Last one to add in was we had a plasterboard assembly as well. But you'll see so this one's for 10 mil standard board. I'm going to add that, close, update. Just then check my costing of the plaster. Yeah, okay, cool. So again, and going on the same theme that I mentioned earlier, you've got this one is for drywalls. So that's the reason I've separated like that. So when we do this takeoff, I'm not going to measure the wet area walls again, because that's going to bring in the same thing with the ceiling, where if I run across that wet area wall, and that wet area wall needs WR board, it's going to automatically pick up as 10 mil standard board, and then I'm going to have to go in and do deductions. And again, that just adds a layer of complexity, which can be avoided just by doing a quick little separate measurement when you're at this stage. All right, so we've linked those up. Okay, so now that we've done our linkages, this is where we're going to save this template or this estimate as a template. So let's go back into here now. And literally, once you've built this out, and obviously you're going to build out a complete takeoff list and estimating template with cost items and assemblies, all we've got to do now is options, save as template. Just going to call this ABC building master estimate template. You can call it something similar or in your own company name. Template workshop example 3, something like that, and hit save. And then this is then going to be available within your estimating templates here. When you go to settings, templates, estimation, you're going to see, where is the ABC building? There it is there. And then click within that. It's going to save, obviously, any cost items you've added in. It's going to save should be saving the rate as well. Did I click on the right one? Oh, clicked on the wrong one. Sorry. That's from my dummy example when I was playing around with it. So I'm looking for version 3. Let's see. PC building. Let me just refresh this. Make sure it's come across. ABC building, master estimate template, workshop example. Let's find that. So I've got a few estimates here. I think it's this one. Let me try save that again. Options, save as template, ABC building, shop example. Oh, maybe it likes that. Create. Now if I refresh this, go back to my estimating templates, refresh this. There it is there. Okay. So now this, you can see it's picked up the master price book link, it's picked up the takeoff link, and now when you bring that into an estimate, it'll remember all those linkages and all the takeoffs and assemblies and everything associated with it. All right, so let's wrap it up and do this fun part, at least for this workshop portion. So let's go back to this same template now, on this takeoff template, and let's just quickly do a measurement and let's see. Hopefully it all works and flows through. So ground floor internal area, it's a square meter measurement. So I'm just going to click this polygon tool. I'm not going to be too careful now, just something quick and easy so you can see how it all works and flows through. I'm not going to measure the garage area because that would be like another separate measurement that I'd have here as well. All right, so that's the first one. All right, so that's picked up 223 square meters or thereabouts. And now let's do external timber frame walls. And again, what I'm going to do here is only measure the dry area walls. So again, I'm looking at this logic here, whatever I've noted here. So you'd run through this list and you'd say on this job, yeah, I've got external timber frame walls, obviously. Well, not obviously, you might not have timber frame walls, but if you do, you'd say, okay, I've got 450 stud centers, 2.7 meters high, and I'm going to measure now the dry walls based on those factors as well. So we can start doing that. So I'm just going to go around like that. And then I'm going to stop wherever I see a wet area. And then I'm going to pick up again where there's no wet area. And these 4 wet areas. Okay, so just like that, like that. Like that. Okay, and I'm going to stop here for my external wall. And that's it. So we've done our measurement now. What have I got? 55 linear meters of external timber frame drywall, 2.7 high, 450 stud centers. And now, so we've saved our estimate. We've done our ground floor internal area measurements, done our external timber frame wall ground floor measurement. All right, now for those of who haven't seen this process before, let's see the payoff and what it does. So I'm going to share my screen again, and now let's just sit here. Let's go back to this costing. I'm going to refresh this now. And hopefully we've got some, okay, good. We got dollar values. So, yeah, so this is the payoff, yeah? Like you go through the hard work at the start to build it out, build the linkages, assemblies, price books, and then you can see just by like that takeoff took me what, like maybe a minute, 2 minutes to do those couple of takeoff items. It's already, you know, it's already just populating with rates, and I'm already getting dollar values against this this estimate, which before was just a blank slate. I mean, not a blank slate in terms of we had the connections built, but you know, adding that pricing to it just gives you that extra layer and speed and efficiency to price your estimates a lot faster. So who was still following along? Who got, put a 1 in the chat if we've got some pricing. Awesome. Okay, cool. You guys are legends. Estimating masters, Wunderbuild experts. Cool. I love it.